Good morning. Welcome to WTAMU, and if you are a student, thanks for attending this lecture. Before I introduce our speaker, I want to invite Brad Strong, and he's going to introduce you our new officer. We just have everything installed in the last 1 week. So this is not a new organization, but all the officers are new because last year they have all graduated.
Okay, so most of you know me. We're all classmates mostly. My name is Tariq. I'm the president of AMA, and then there is actually a couple of them still are interested. The VP of Advertising, Promotion, and Social Media is Don White. The VP of Communications is Miguel Perez. The VP of Fundraising and Finance is I cannot pronounce her last name. I'm too sure. And then the VP of Membership is Samuel Spoll, and VP of Professional Development is Sydney Reynolds. So none of them are here, actually. So yeah, that's our team right now.
But we meet every other Wednesday.
Yep.
At 12:30. And it is one of the best, most visible chapters on campus. Thanks, Greg.
No.
Okay, let me say a few things, because we advertise this seminar a lot, and hopefully some people will be coming, they may have classes. So we purposely have one speaker because the topic is very, very interesting and complex. And we combine wind energy and green marketing. And if you combine these two, they are pretty well related. And the class I teach is marketing strategy, and all the students who are sitting here, they are from marketing strategy as well as from other classes. And in marketing strategy, we use green marketing a lot. In what way? In many ways. It's not only recycling and all those, it's more than that. So I will read it to you. Before I invite my speaker, first of all, wind energy have been used since 2000 BC. These are my notes, and they are also in your brochure which I created. It's a very good alternative to fossil fuels. It's a perfect clean source of energy. It can, some of the windmills, all the giant machines you see, they can be 20-story high. And basically, it's a way to reduce carbon dioxide. A wind turbine may have 8,000 plus parts. Ken will talk about it. And when you come down to green marketing, basically, and in our classes we have discussed, it's a pretty diverse area. It can be corporate social responsibility. It can be ecological marketing. It can be holistic marketing, environment, sustainability. It can be reducing information asymmetry. These are the problems we have. Eco-labeling, green packaging, willing to pay up the premium price. It has lots of new areas, and it's still being growing. But when you talk about wind energy, when you talk about green marketing, we look at carbon footprints. Every day we create carbon footprints. Energy, lights, especially automobiles, airlines, cruise ships, all these things are the source of carbon footprints, carbon taxes, and these again and again will help you understand that it's one of the most fastest growing areas. Let me show it to you, and I collected these in the last 1 month. This is Economist magazine. They have a whole issue on the topic we have today. So you can see it's growing worldwide. This is Time magazine. This also is totally for climate change. And it talks about 2050, that how people are going to be surviving 2050. So most probably, Ken, you will be 98 or 100. I'll be 98. So let's see if we can make it.
92.
Okay, so you are young. And but it talks about how we survived 2050. Most of young people, you will be also into their 50s, and so remember this lecture. This is National Geographic, and the whole issue is on Arctic. It is melting, and we have seen it online everywhere. Real estate in Greenland is doing very well. Most of the snow is disappearing, so basically you are getting lots of rare earth metals, mining. All these metals are coming up after hundreds and hundreds of years. And finally, this article about Greenland, Financial Times, Greenland, climate change. So no matter where you go, what you do, you live in Pakistan, you live in Germany, Denmark, China, India, United States, anywhere, you are going to deal with climate change. And the intensity may be different. I'll give you one example where I am from, and Dr. Abbas, he's also from that country, Pakistan. He's our Associate Dean Agriculture. In Pakistan, glaciers are melting. How fast? Very fast. It's a nightmare. Some of the places have been converted into giant lakes. In fact, there's one lake which is 15 kilometers. It's like 10 miles. And this just happened in the last 6-7 years. So people have been displaced. So these are lots of things. Okay, let me introduce you to our speaker. Kenneth, I hope my pronunciation is correct. Ken, very good friend, distinguished colleague, have done a lot for WT. He used to be Associate Director of Alternative Energy Institute. And let me tell you how many countries he has been to, because he's always in demand. So Jamaica, China, 5 times. South Africa, Korea, Germany twice, Italy, Austria, Slovakia, Slovenia, France, England, Holland, Brazil, Thailand, Japan, Costa Rica, and Chile. Ken, what are you doing in WTAMU?
And Scotland, and I go to Ireland in December.
Oh, you ought to be working in the World Bank. And
the World Bank, you have to wear a suit.
Okay. But we always appreciate Ken's energies. He's everywhere. I used to stop him near the post office, and I'm always asking questions to him because we want to learn. We teach marketing, we sell products, but we have to get into the technicality. That's where, if you are good, it's 2 + 2 5. Ken has been in demand, as I said. He's a well-known name in the US, in our area, and even beyond. That's why he has been to so many countries. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome. But before I invite him, let me show you his books. These are all his books available on Amazon, as always. And look at all the articles he brought. We can't go through each and every, but when you go to Business Source Complete, academic search, you will find his articles. And so that's one of the reasons. His value added to WT and to his discipline is amazing. And that's why we need to appreciate how many good people we have who are contributing to our university as well as to our region. So let's invite our distinguished guest, Ken Starcher.
Thank you, sir. I'm now going to reduce our carbon footprint by 1 light. You've been seeing these slideshows go through. Basically, these are typical images of the large wind turbines, the integration of wind turbines into the area that we call the panhandle. Have you seen anything that was exciting yet? Did you see anything you asked a question about, or that you didn't understand? Or is there a picture there that said, ooh? Nothing? Okay. Well, then let me give you this rule. If you don't ask questions today, you're only going to hear what I want to tell you. If you ask questions and I give you a good response, then you're going to learn what you wanted to know. So the more questions you ask, the more stuff you'll get that is focused toward what you want to know. I have some specific slideshows, and I'm going to run one. It's called the PowerPoint. I got to do the good one, and it's called What's New in Wind Power. And I've got a portable mouse. So if I click it, does it change? Yes. Technology works most of the time. A lot of good reasons for all renewable energies, wind energy in particular. Which one of those stands out to you? The one you can't read? The big one? Sustainable. What does sustainable mean to you? Anybody? Can happen again and again, constant. I like it. It's not repeatable. How about that instead? Any of those others hit you marketing people as a positive?
Reduce price.
Yeah, that's right. If I can count on the price being stable for 20 years instead of a week and a half, how much better are my projections going to be for my company or for the buying of resources if I need them to actually produce a product? Which one of those is very important then? Renewable energy gives you low fluctuations in price. That's one of the big selling points now. So in marketing terms, think of it as stabilized price, using it or selling it. You've already seen these pictures. Like I say, if you have one that you want to ask about, yell. If not, I'm just going to walk through them. Blah, blah, blah. No, walk through them. Okay? I'll stop there. Size. This is an aerial view of white deer. Anyone know where white deer is? Out other side of Amarillo to heading toward Pampa. Okay? Yellow lines indicate county roads. How far apart are county roads? Anybody here from the region? They know? One, what? Yeah, a mile. They're a mile apart. So yellow line up and down, yellow line up and down, that's a mile across. Look how far apart those turbines are on a nice row. Now I don't have a laser pointer, so I'm going to have to go up and actually touch. That's one row of turbines between a mile, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a little buffer there, so they don't run into the edge of it on the land I control. Does it give you a feel of how many turbines you can put in a section? A section is a square mile. Get a feel for it? How much space is left after all the wind turbines went in?
Quite a bit.
I like quite a bit. That, if you're a graduate student, you would say, all of them, sir. Because graduate students never know numbers, but they do know that all of it's left. Okay? You see the nice little patches? What do you think the farmer's doing in those patches? Continuing farming. Does it interrupt the interaction between the farmer and what he really wants to get done? Only a little bit. Basically about 3 acres per turbine, and most of that is the road in between. You see it? So it gives you a feel from an overall shot of a typical wind farm here in a nice flat area, how much space is actually taken up. Go. Nah, I don't want to do that. There. What happens if you put stuff on a mountain? This is the mountains down south between El Paso and Carlsbad Caverns. Okay? You only put them on the high parts. It's difficult to get up there. It cost $2 million to build the road to be able to get all these pieces up there. Was it well worth it? Yes. This is the very first commercial wind farm in all of Texas back in the 1990s. And it was a cooperation between the land office, who actually had the rights to the land, the Public Utility Commission, and ERCOT, which is the people who are taking the electricity. So sometimes government agencies do work together to get stuff done. Windmill, windmill, windmill. Come on, click. Oh, working. Anything? I'm looking to see if anybody's eyes show up. Yes, wait.
Since like it was high, do you go up by elevator or you walk up there?
These ones are 60 meters, which is about 180 foot. Walk.
Up there?
Yes. This one, if I got it, I'm going to flick. That one. It's called wind catcher. Elevator. One elevator out of 60 turbines though. All the other ones climb up the ladder. But this is the one they use for guest tours. So they put an elevator in. Typically it takes about 20 to 40 minutes to be able to climb up to the top. What's the first thing that gives out on a maintenance operator, a guy who does work on windmills? Knees. The knees. You're gonna cycle through those guys just like they're football players. You know, the knees give out. Okay, construction, more stuff, cranes, now we're at Texas. Texas is one state with 4 regions. Over here, what's the town? Anyone? El Paso, hippies. WSCC is the West Coast electric grid. So they're connected to California, Arizona, all those other, Oregon, Washington, all those are all big one grid. CERC is Gulf Coast area. SPP, that's us up here in the Panhandle on that little junction over here by Tyler. And what other big town is there over here? Anybody know? Texarkana, something like that. SPP. Everywhere else, ERCOT. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas runs pretty much all the states. And they decide how electricity is distributed and what kind of mix it is that's going to go into that electric grid. Next. These are maps. Look at just this first one. What's the date on it? Yay, you can read. Okay. We're going to test your graphical interpretation skills. I'm going to run through this like it's a movie. Bam, 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 bam. And they should be pretty close to being in the same place. Look at which one is the darkest colored state currently in 99. And it's a beautiful green. Okay? Now the scale shouldn't change. It should be the same scale over and over and over. We're just going to run through it fast. In marketing, time series analysis. You look and see how markets change over time. Ready? Eyes to the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What have you seen grow? Generics. God, the marketing analysis. Give me a specific. More. How many states have wind? Most of them. Which states are getting shafted? The losers in the Confederate War. They're losing again. I'm going to go back through this slowly, but do you basically see what the status is, the snapshot right now? Who's number 1 in installed capacity? Who's the big number? Who's the dark color? Tejas. 25 out of 97. Anybody can do math in their head? Quick. 1/4. Somebody could do math in their head. I like that. Now, he wasn't exact. He was off by 0.03%. Okay, but you were close. 25,000. Can y'all see those numbers from the back? Is it actually visible out of 97? Okay, I'm going to go backwards. Back. Start. California had state incentives to make wind grow. Federal government had very few incentives to make wind grow. All this started happening when good governors signed good rules, and the good rules were usually a renewable portfolio standard, a marketing attempt to say, we wanted clean energy from market surveys. They go and ask utility customers, would you pay more for wind? Would you pay more for solar if it made a cleaner mix of electricity for your grid? And a lot of times, 50% or more would say yes. In Texas, they said, that's a great idea. Let's make it a rule that there has to be a certain amount of clean energy. And you notice Texas started growing in 2000 when they signed that into law. Dude, I'm going to go up one, 2006. What's happened here the first time? We we don't want to say past because that means they were ahead of us. We went ahead and did what we wanted to the good Texas way and put in more than anybody else. That's the right way. You saw from the 99 one to this man, how many more states have grown? Where's the resource for wind energy in the United States? Any idea? The great grass, what do you call them? Breadbasket. Yeah. The golden wave of grains from the American song is where that's growing. I'm going to grow forward. Bam, 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 bam. I like 15. Why do I like 15? It's where we turn blue. Not politically. Windily. But you see now, 17 compared to 6. But who else is ahead of California? Oh, now you got to look in details. Market research, sometimes you got to dig down in the data. They call it data mining sometimes. Which other state is bigger than California? Iowa. And you start seeing places with good coastal breezes. Well, what the heck? Where's the coast of Iowa? What do they got just north of it? Big Great Lake. A lot of winds there. Anybody else close to California? Oklahoma. Where the... Geez, y'all never watched the movie? Where the wind comes sweeping down the... Geez, study some classic movies once in a while. All that stuff works together. The wind comes sweeping down the plains. Let's finish this off. What are we at right now? There. Is there people bigger than California?
Yes.
Has California changed from its peak? You saw it, and now you remembered your data. And that's another big thing of marketing trends is watch when stuff starts to dip. They started pulling out old crappy windmills. Take out 5, put in one big one. You maybe lose a little capacity, but it's a much better turbine. Say, go.
What do they do when they start disposing them? I know they have life fancy.
Sell them to people that don't care the current status of it. They'll buy 5 old windmills, piece them together, and get one good working one and sell it to a farmer in another place. They recycle the blades that they can because they're basically fiberglass. Metal and stuff gets resmelted down. The tower itself is $1,000 per ton of already mined material. Why not go ahead and just chop the bolts off, let it fall over, and then remelt it?
Stored fiberglass, and I've never known a recyclable used for fiberglass. What is it now?
It's just like doing aggregate for concrete. You just bust it back up and then you intermix it. It become actually glass. It's not long streams anymore. What do you call it when they're little tiny flecks of glass? Huh?
Glass beads.
Now beads you'd have to reform. It's when they're little tiny slivers like you paste onto the walls when you're reinforcing. What is that called? Well, you don't know. I don't remember it, so I'm old. You don't know. But it's when you don't have big long strings of fiberglass and the little tiny shards, you can use those and intermix them into resin and then use it as a reinforcement. It's a web. It's no longer a web. It is a, what do you call it? Yeah, see, he knows. You just can't get the words out. But yes, they do that. They'll try and recycle all they can. Okay? But this is a giant resource. A wind turbine sitting above ground is a giant resource because all the metal is already mined and smelted once. All the electrical components can be reused or suck the gold out and you get a decent amount of rare earths or whatever out of them. The generator can be rewound and used again for the same capacity, whatever it is. So you reuse as much as possible. What we call repowering, where they take a bunch of old small ones and then put in one big one. You don't have to make a new contract because you're basically the same size, but your capacity may go down. What happens? Say it. Question.
So what's the lifespan of them?
Ooh. The shortest one we've ever had lasted 6 minutes.
Wow.
6 minutes. The guy said, this is going to work perfectly. Let's put it up. And the winds were typical winds like we have in the Panhandle, and about 6 minutes later, the thing flew apart. The oldest one we had with really good maintenance has lasted 25 years. And that is the design life. The trouble is, people are designed to last 70 years. How many people die before they're 70? Some, a lot. And so hitting your design life is often a care of maintenance, installation, what you're hit with, what type of resource you're exposed to, things like that. But 20 years is a typical, 30 years is the desire, 25 is about the ballpark. Question?
How much does it cost to build one?
Oh, nothing. Nothing to build. $2 million per megawatt to install it, though. Okay, that's different. We use the technical term. Installation requires getting the raw material for the turbine itself, basically the parts, the tower, electrical wiring, whatever, building the roads in between them, putting in the foundation pad, like you saw the guys pouring cement, erecting it with the giant cranes, all that together, about $2 million per megawatt. So you base it on the rating of the wind turbine, on the cost of actually getting it put in. Okay?
How much does it cost to convert the energy?
Oh, nothing, because it ties directly to the utility. The utility sets the frequency, utility sets the voltage, and the turbines match it. And all they do is push the current toward the utility instead of sucking it from the utility like a motor would. That's all they do, different, is put amps toward the utility, and that's what you're selling. Amps times volts is watts. That's physics, you wouldn't understand. Power, and then power times time is out, kilowatt hours. That's what you're selling. Question?
There is no actual way to store this, is there? Correct?
There is ways to store it. Now you brought up magazines. And I'm going to look at You know what power gen is? Power gen is the meeting of all the different oil and gas producers all over the world. Power Gen International is being held in Oklahoma New Orleans this year. If you flip to it, here's all the topics they're going to cover in that whole conference. Read me that one.
On-site power.
That one.
Which one? Wind.
That one.
Coal fire.
That one.
And that's the story. You got it. Oh.
The companies that make energy from the conventional ways, oil and gas, coal, this is their main topics. Wind, solar, energy storage, microgrids. Why are they talking about it? Because that's where their money's going to come from when all this other stuff gets too hard to get out of the ground. Did that answer your question? Okay. On. Quit this. I don't want to do next. I wanted to just go to the graphic interpretation. Some of y'all marketing skills, you got to be able to analyze graphs. What's the scale on the X? Is this the way you mumble in class? What's the scale on the X? Years, time. Okay, what's the scale on the Y? Power, installed capacity. Which way is the graph growing? How fast is it growing? Oh, now you got to use calculus, and that's the class you hated, didn't it? Anybody take calculus? Anybody pass calculus? Sometimes it is. Okay.
What is the power? Megawatt or?
Megawatts. So this is in megawatts. And that's why I put the little slide in the second so you can see it.
Yeah.
So this is megawatts. 120,000, remember we're at 97,000 on 2019 was from that last slide, second quarter. So this is the growth we've seen. Is this a good business to be in if it's consistently growing?
Yes.
Why?
Job security?
Oh, but what's going to happen when you've blanketed everywhere and there's no more room for windmills? Repower. I just told you what happened in California. They take out 5 crappy ones and put in And that's still going to happen too in the future.
100 gigawatts.
100,000.
The 100,000 mega, 100 gigawatts. How many, like the nuclear power plant we need to generate that much?
Geez, let's see. A typical nuclear power plant could be anywhere from 500 to 1,800 megawatt.
Around 100 nuclear power plants.
If they all ran. You're right. If nothing was turned on. Is nuclear energy a good energy source? Navy's been doing it for years. How many new nuclear plants have we installed in America in the last 10? How many?
I don't think we need for any.
How many?
I don't think we need for any new nuclear power plant.
How many?
No, I don't think we have.
I get another 0. I have confirmation for your lie. Anyone else say 0? Another 0. Another lie. We've done 12.
Wow.
Where do we put them?
In other countries?
No. On the ocean. John Kennedy. JFK. Oh, Intrepid.
Navy.
Nautilus.
U.S. Navy.
Oh, now he understands. We kick out a bunch of nuclear power plants every decade. We just don't put them on land. We stick them out in the Arabian Ocean or Pacific Ocean or North Atlantic or some places like that. And we keep them underneath so nobody can see them, submarines. Or we put them on nuclear carriers so that they can go fast. But we have great experience with nuclear power plants and very few main disasters. If we would build our nuclear plants on land the way we build them for the ships, built to survive being attacked by other weapons and stuff, I don't think we'd have any problem. But the maintenance, you'd have to have, 137 crewmen dedicated to that one nuclear plant working 24 hours a day to make sure nothing goes wrong. High maintenance costs. The way we do that on land is we would make nuclear plants all the same style. Who has the most nuclear energy installed anywhere in the world? Anyone know?
France.
France, he knows. Why? Because French engineers are lazy. One design, always the same. If I build an inspector who knows how to look at a nuclear power plant, and he knows exactly how to do the one in Nice, and he gets sent down to Lyon, and in Lyon he looks at the nuclear power plant, what is going to be in front of him? Exactly the same nuclear power plant. And he knows what to look for. And if he goes down to Cannes, and listen to the film festival, and then he goes to look at the nuclear power plant there, what's it going to be? Exactly the same. If you cookie cutter your power plants and make one design, it's easy to maintain, operate. If one goes wrong, what do you do to all the others?
Change them.
Fix that one thing. Now you've got to focus on the one problem that you had that showed up here first. Fix it on all the other ones because it's going to be the same problem on them sooner or later down the road. Say it.
Waste.
What do we do with our waste?
We look for a place to put it.
Ah.
And that's what's happening right now with blades, right? Some blades are.
Some blades get landfilled, yeah, you're right. And so what you do there is the nuclear waste, according to Ronald Reagan, that comes from a nuclear power plant is only enough that it'll fit under a desk. Trouble is, his desk was huge. It's not the waste. It is the radioactive material that gets secondary radiation, then becomes radioactive and not able to be near down the road. And those are the parts that have your pumps, pipes, things like that. The containment facility, the fuel rods itself, very small true waste out of that. But the secondary parts are the ones you have to pull out because they're reactive to the workers who are inside the plant.
But it's a problem, I guess.
It is, but we've got WIP right here. And Robert Heinlein, you know him?
Yes.
What is he?
Science fiction writer.
Science future writer.
Science fiction writer. Go
Fair
ahead.
enough. The original purpose of petroleum, when they first found it, was what? Any ideas?
For lighting.
Even before then.
For
Medicine.
Salve.
To make people beautiful. Put it on their face and stuff. That was the real purpose of it. You don't know what the purpose of old, long-term half-life radioactive stuff is going to be. Why not put it where it's accessible? And if somebody in 25 to 100 years from now figures out that Cesium actually does have a certain value, that it's the one component that actually takes greenhouse gases out of the air with no effort. Now we've got a whole big source of it. What you do is you pack it in concrete and then store it where it doesn't radioactive anyone else, and you don't put it in a big enough mass that it can self-excite. That's the way to handle nuclear waste. Treat it like you'd want anything that you can wash off your hands, ashes, like from a stove after you burn a bunch of wood. Next, you see the growth, see the potential? Quit this. Texas, hard to see. Texas growth sideways. I made it so you had to interpret a different type of graph. But what's the current status of Texas? 2018 is as big as they had on Wikipedia. And you can't even see the colors, but it's sort of orangey looking. 24,000. Remember, it's 25,000 now, according to our other map. They only did 18 here. But is that a good growth in Texas? You don't have to go out of state to even work with wind energy. In Texas, these are the typical numbers we have. A lot of installed capacity, helps a lot of homes, a lot of money to put them in, a lot of energy that it makes, not megawatts, but kilowatt hours. A lot of people that it can run. Is there more than 6 million homes in Texas? Yes. So we're running a good part of it, though. Okay.
I have a question about that.
No,
you don't have to go back there.
Yes, I do.
But I know a few people that work at Excel Energy, and I've asked them about the wind turbines that we actually have in the Panhandle area.
That they actually have.
That they have?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Everything that they have is getting sent down towards the range instead of up here in the Panhandle. Why is that?
Count 5. Okay, you hold your fingers up. Give me 5 slides. 1. Here was the expected. I've gone through 1. Take 1 away. Not your little finger, the thumb. Geez, okay. This is the expected growth on ERCOT of where farms should grow in the future. Basically, the circles are the projected ones. The existing ones are the solid yellows. The ones that have a signed interconnection agreement are the ones that are being built on. Where is it growing? All over the state. You see it? But they did that because I'm going to skip past this. This reason. They did a study. This was your 5th one. This was the study where they said, if we put in a certain amount of megawatts in any different balloon all over the state, which one would be the cheapest one to get to? Which would be the easiest ones to put in? And they came up with these areas. The crest line, this camel, is why the electricity goes downstate. They said, you remember where the cutoff is? SPP is us, good people. ERCOT, all the rest of those Texas people. Dallas, LaGrange, Beaumont. All those people are down here. But the resource was up here, so they built electric wires up in the Panhandle to stretch down to the ERCOT grid. And we can only sell to them. But we're selling to where the people are. How many people live in Pampa? How many people live in Waxahachie? A lot more. And so the reason is, send that electricity with some connection points. Dallas-Fort Worth, Waco, Austin, San Antonio. And send it where the market is. $7.6 billion worth of electricity lines later, every bit of electricity we're making along that crest line gets sent down to ERCOT and used in their grid. That's why. So it doesn't hurt Excel. They're not losing any sales. Everything's going down south. Doesn't hurt the landowners. If we build a wind farm up here at the nose of the camel in Oldham County, that helps the local people. The tax rate in Oldham County right now is 50 cents per $100 of valuation of property. 2 years ago, it was 76 cents. How much, I will test your math skills, how much in decrease is that?
1/3.
Damn, let the young guys do it. 33% decrease in tax rate for every person in the county on any property you own in that county just based on having the wind farm there, increasing the tax base. Wind farms help you on the local level, even if they're not on your property. Now, I can go back. economic impact. If I'm building them, here's how many people it takes, how long it takes, type of cost, those kind of things. Here's the electric growth expected in Texas. What year are we in right now? How much is that? About 458,000 gigawatt hours that we need every year. What's the electrical capacity for the state of Texas? Do you see the discrepancy for you marketing people? Can we make all we need? Not with the existing conventional installation of electrical generators that we currently had in 2015. This was the break-even point. We started to put in a lot of wind energy, solar energy, natural gas to try and fix this because we knew it was coming back in the 2010s. How are we on time?
We are fine.
We are fine, but are they?
15 minutes and then we'll have Q&As.
Okay. There. What's this graph tell you? What's the X? Months and years. April 15 to April 16, so that's a typical year. What's the percentage? Monthly algorithm, the percent of total ERCOT load. Why just ERCOT? Remember, that's where most of the energy is going. That's where most of the people are in Texas. The middle one is the average. The beautiful turquoise is the peak, and the dark blue is the low. Did wind supply everything we ever need? Will it ever? Do you realize that it's part of the energy mix? Okay. What's the best we ever did? 50% of all the energy in ERCOT? Half the, whatever they are in Austin, were all supplied by wind energy?
That's what the graph says.
That's what the graph says. Do you see that we are significant components at time during the year? And our peak right now is we've done around 69% one time for a couple of hours. 2/3 of all the energy made in ERCOT supplied by wind energy. So we got a good capacity. It's just, can we keep doing it? I got to keep going the right way. Bam, bam, bam. Bam, there's what the notes looks like here. Here's what's possible. Is everything rosy for wind? No. Speed bumps. What are speed bumps? What could slow us down? Read one out loud.
Access to transmission.
Yeah. The new lines are full pretty much. If we want to send more stuff to the state of Texas, what do we got to do? Beef up or build more lines. You know, we already got the right of way. Why not use it and just make them bigger? How do you make a line bigger fast?
Put in more wires.
Oh, he wants to add money. He's a metal guy. What's a quicker way?
Bigger.
Up the
Voltage.
yes. We just make voltage, and then all we got to do is buy insulators, not wire. We don't have to have the helicopter or nothing. And we double the voltage, we double the power rating of that wire. Okay, you make it too long insulator, and the wires get where they hit cotton strippers and stuff. And so you don't want that. You always got to keep a certain height limit. So you got to be watching for that. Laws, marketing. What's the best way to get somebody to buy your product? That's the way to get them to want the product. What's the best way to get them to buy the product?
Word of mouth.
No, that's crap. That's advertising.
Competitive prices.
Incentive?
Benefits.
Incentives are good, but that's like putting little deals on top of the box, top of the cereal. Only the teachers who want those books for kids use them. What's the best way? What's the best way?
So, advertisement.
No, advertising is money waste.
Competitive price.
No, because every other competitor just lower his price.
How about benefits?
Not benefits. No one cares about benefits, only the hippies. Public law. You demand. The state says you have to. Oh. The state said we had to. Because the state saw that there was a value to it. They said back in 2001, let's put in a law that we've got this much renewable energy already from dams and stuff that are on the Colorado River. Let's add 2,000 megawatts of new renewable installed capacity, but let's do it in a nice stair-step method. So much in this year, so much in this year, so much in this year, each stair-step nice and steady until we hit our target. What did the wind business say? You saw the graph, how it grew in Texas. What did they say?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's the rule. Here's the way we'll build it. Is this bigger or shorter than the target? Oh, you see that the business then, with the manipulation by the state, said, we're making money no matter what you say. Let's put in more. And we'll do it under budget because there was no budget for it. It was just demand. What did the state legislature do now that Rick Perry's in charge? Add more steps. Let's add 3,000 more megawatts and make sure that some of it is small solar energy. That's this 500 megawatt diversity target. And add some more steps. And we'll push it out to 2019. There's no way in hell that you'll catch up. What did the wind business say?
Oh, yes, we will.
Thank you very much. We will. And the current number I can't drop because it's up there at, what was the number? You memorized it, you saw it. 24,000 megawatts with a target of 5,800. With a desire to hit 10,000 by, damn, let's see, we're at 25,000 now, and they want us to be 10. Have you ever heard of a government program under budget, that far ahead of schedule, and never cost you anything? What? What was it? Baby strollers. Car seats for infants. Something like that. Something that was good. But do you see how the industry immediately took over? Because the business side of it overdrove the demand side of it. But the demand was what got it started. Was the growth nice and steady in Texas? Was that red line nice and growy all the time? What do you see flatlined? 2001 to what? 5 about. Federal tax credits got turned off. Then Chuck Grassley turned it back on. What happens when there's federal tax support and state demand? What happens when you turn them off for a little bit? Like they're getting ready to do 2020. Do you expect demand to flatten a little? Market research that. Look at the history of the growth and then say what caused some flat lines. Is that going to happen again? Okay? Trend analysis is very important. It's a good skill to learn. Most of you can read a graph if you understand what you're looking at. Next, quick guess. Why does it do it sometimes and not every time? Oh, well, there, state. These are the kind of things that the state's going to do in the future. Demand more, put in incentives, a system benefit charge that says, what is the real cost of doing it one way compared to another? Those kind of things. Is wind always good? No. What's the title? Bird fatalities. Avian impact is what they call it. We don't like saying impact. I have a cat. I'm a bigger cause of bird deaths in Texas per person than windmills are. Because I own multiple cats. 1,000 times more than a wind turbine. Do wind turbines kill birds? Yes. Yes, they do. Do wind turbines kill bats? Yes, they do. Just because we only kill 1 or 2, is that a good reason to stop windmills? No. Is it a good reason to try and put them where they at least minimize the amount that they kill? And that's what they've done. Severe aviation impact studies, that kind of stuff. Future, no one knows for sure, but it could be anything. Basically put money on the downside. When you make energy any other conventional way, you make carbon as an offset. Carbon is claimed to be greenhouse gas. True or false? Yeah, methane is a greenhouse gas. True or false? The spray stuff in our old aerosol cans used to be a greenhouse gas where it hurt the ozone too at the same time. Is there proof? There's correlations. Not real proof. You can't do pure cause and effect. But if we reduce the amount of CO2 going in the air, is it a helpful or a hurtful thing? You get to make the decision. You're going to be around to see it. But if we start taxing CO2, the guys who put it into the air are going to have to raise their prices because it's going to cost them more. And everything else that doesn't put it into the air is going to have now a benefit for their production. And that's the way you get this leveled off, where the consumer gets the benefit if we start putting values on CO2. Currently, the value in Europe is $20 a ton. And that's why renewable energies work so well there, because they're competing against coal, gas, oil that is having to pay that extra tax. And they are not. Build new capacity, build new project faster than transmission lines. So what do you have to do? Plan ahead, work with the utility commission. There's a bunch of different slideshow pointers here and here. They'll be available to you later. There's our cowboy. And now, how much time we got left?
15 minutes?
I can do this. I can do this if I turn my mouse right and hit minimize and go to here. And I have every one of my bookmarks. And there's the Paris wedding, there's being a laird, I'm a laird in Scotland. Solar stuff, windy stuff, other programs, student, Texas, turbines, wind map, utility, wind book, class, ARM, automation, ergonomics, metals, come on, geothermal power, wind presentation. You got 15 minutes. It's your chance now. Which one of those look like a good topic? And remember, you'll have access to these two. I'm going to give them to the boss. He'll be able to distribute. Say it.
Find the best room, Johnston.
He wants that one. Anybody like that? Let's go look at it. Bam. Open it in a new tab. Earth. Energy, efficiency, and renewable energy. Tech. Installer. Is that too big? Can you read it? Solar installer, wind technician, clean car engineer. Anyone here drive a hybrid? Raise your hand proudly. I do too. Anyone here drive a hydrogen vehicle? The first one in Texas was just installed 2 weeks ago in Hereford for the first fueling station. The college at South Plains Levelland is going to be the guys who learn how to fuel that thing. Sustainable builder. How many people live in homes or apartments? How many live in a hut? I'm sorry. Okay. Home and apartment. If we build our homes where they use less energy, how long is that going to last? The life of the home. How long do homes typically last? Anybody live longer than a home? Nobody yet? Good. Well, nobody on the back rows. Okay. 50 years. If you get 50 years savings on a home that you built sustainably, now the net energy cost to run that home is going to be lower. The cost to heat and cool it's going to be less. The amount of impact it had on your environment is going to be lower if you use sustainable building practices. And what's the last one? Be a mouthpiece. Sustainable professional. You know, just go around and talk good things about sustainability. And what's sustainability? You have your quote for the back.
Or
Renewable, reusable, sustainable. All those things.
always there.
Always there. I love that. Does that make sense? Did you see the 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, does it make halfway sense? They were commonplace type jobs, but focused on types of jobs that are going to be available in the future that make sense and will add benefit long term. Pick another one. You see the colored one we've already done. Yes, sir?
This refers to wind energy. It's not on this. objections to wind energy.
Oh.
Driving to Dallas on 287, I see a big sign that says, say no to wind farms.
And
What
they
you
do
think?
this because visibility, noise, avian impact, bird hitting, and they feel like they don't get the money. Remember our picture where we had the yellow lines? Where did the windmill stop? Just short of that windmill, the yellow line on that far side. The guy just across the fence gets no direct economic impact from the installation of that wind turbine. But he has to look at it every day. This is your Amarillo Globe News newspaper. And it says up here, can you read it?
President's windmill hatred.
President's what?
Windmill hatred.
That's what we heard. For decades, the current president has said the windmills are crappy. They cause cancer. They mess my hair. Because every time the wind's blowing from those damn windmills, my hair flocks up. Okay? This was in our own Amarillo paper, October 1st. There are lots of reasons to not like them. There are no sustainable reasons to not allow them properly installed and with the tax benefits spread over everybody. But the neighbors hate them. What's the other thing they say? It devalued my property value. You ain't ever heard that? My land's not worth it much because it's right next to that damn windmill farm. LBNL, you know what that stands for? It's not Lubbock National Lab. Okay. Lawrence Berkeley National Lab did a white paper where they compared the prices of land being sold that was directly adjacent to or within 2 miles of a wind farm and found the average price was about 25% higher than the similar sized, similar styled property not in view of the wind farm. That rule doesn't count either. Because what you do is you get environmentalists who love the land around it, who do walking wind tours, flower tours in Kern County, California every spring, where they walk among the windmills and see all the different types of foliage that comes out in the spring. So there are arguments against it. Every one of them is valid. You got to listen to them. Somebody speaks, you got freedom to speak. But none of them are a sustainable argument against properly installed, properly sited windmills. Okay? So be willing to listen to the other guys, but then come up with good arguments on why his argument may not be valid or representative of all the farms. It may just be his one particular case because he's stuck in the valley between 2 big wind farms on both sides of the mountain. He's got to look at them all the time. Yeah, that's a problem. What's the first thing you do? Nobody? Marketing? Buy him out and say, the guy who lived in the middle of the wind farms in California, the very first one, he signed the deal. He's got 1,300 windmills around him. His wife bitched and moaned. Bitched and moaned. Until Christmas, 1999, when they found out scientifically that natural fiber causes deafness. Because when the windmill companies bought her the mink coat and the mink stole, she quit bitching. She stopped moaning. She saw it as a benefit. Okay? You make an incentive, you make an offer, you counter offer their argument with an incentive that makes it worthwhile for them to keep the argument to themselves. Or you buy them out and let them move. That's what they've done. The new wind turbine in North Carolina was blocking 3 o'clock Oprah because there's big metal blades. It was blocking the radio signal coming from up north, from Raleigh. What did they do in Boone County? There's a lot of people who love Oprah. And at 3 o'clock, they want to see her. They put in cable television to all the homes down the valley that were getting blocked. Didn't cost them much. Got them off their back. And now everybody could watch Oprah or TBS, whatever they want. Pick another one. You only got a few seconds. Go.
I have a question. You see, apart from additional environmental benefits, what do you think the wind energy is the least or the most economical production as relative to the nuclear or solar?
Good point. You have to study this with Marketing Reports and Policy Group under Wind Technologies. Currently, wind in a good site with a properly placed windmill that is properly maintained can make electricity for 2.5 cents a kilowatt hour. Can you buy electricity for 2.5 cents a kilowatt hour from utility?
No.
Can you buy it from your co-op?
No.
Can you make it yourself that cheap?
Yes.
Only if you got a really good resource, I'll agree. But it's got to be a good resource. And so the killer is, usually people buy cheaper than they can make it. Because that's the incentive, is buying. If I can make it for 2.5 and the utility's selling it for 12, what's the utility make? 10 cents. Solar, 14 cents per kilowatt hour. And it only happens in sunlit hours, never at nighttime. So the hard there is storage. But like I said, they're looking at storage now, even on the other conventional energy people. It is economical, but all the conditions have to be just right. Okay? Without the conditions, if I put it in a real poor wind resource and a real high installation cost and no federal or state support, it can be as high as 8 to 10 cents a kilowatt hour on a utility scale farm. So it can still be as cheap or cheaper than what the utility sells it for, but the utility doesn't sell for what they buy. They buy it cheaper. Any other questions? You're hitting toward the end of the time.
Can you briefly talk about the windmill we have at Nance Ranch?
Nance Ranch, we have one of the larger wind
Does
turbines.
it have any problems?
No problems. This is a test by Underwriter Laboratory who run the wind farm out at Nance Ranch. Nance Ranch is 7 miles out toward the Palo Duro Canyon, south of the road, and it's the largest wind turbine at the time it went in all of North America. Tallest, biggest blades. There are since bigger turbines, but they're usually in Europe and they're offshore, taking advantage of the nice offshore type winds. But it has run real well out there. Now they're doing this as a proof of concept test for this one company, and then if it works here, they're going to try and sell it in wind farms across the U.S. But the hard part was getting it here. You know, they really wanted it down to Houston, but the winds were better here, no corrosion problem from salt air or anything like that. So it has worked well. It's survived lightning storms, hailstorms, everything else. The guys out there do a good job of trying to keep it running.
And what's the speed of
the blades? That thing runs about 16 RPM, which seems real slow. But remember, that blade is about 180 foot long. Any of you here mechanical engineers? Rats. If you know the radius of a circle and you know the angular velocity of a circle, then you figure out how fast that tip's going. And angular velocity is how much of a circle do I make in a second. If I'm doing 16 revolutions in a minute, let's make it easy, 15 in a minute. How many seconds does it take to do one full circle? What's 1/15 of a minute is what I'm asking. Jeez. 4 seconds. So if it takes 4 seconds to do a circle, you say, how many pi radians is that? And it works out 2 pi radians in 4 seconds. It's about a radian per half second. Okay? Because if it takes 4 full seconds to go around, it takes 2 seconds to go a half. It takes 1 second to go a fourth. Okay, so radian, pi, times the length. A pi is about a 3. 3 times 180 is, nobody can do that in your head, 540? 540? Oh, okay, good. NASA guy. 540 feet per second. That's fast. That's how fast that tip's moving. That's why it can hit birds. How fast does a car move at 100 miles an hour? At 60 miles an hour. You had to do this for your driving test. At 60 miles an hour, I go
60 miles in 1 hour.
88 feet per second. This was on your driver's test. You forgot it when you were 16? You had to know how fast it was to be able to step. If I step on the brake in half a second, how far have I gone? And we all passed. 88 feet per second, 60 miles an hour. 88 feet per second, but I'm going 500. I'm going almost 600 miles an hour at that tip. That's pretty fast. It doesn't look fast because it's so big and the whole thing is moving so slow, 4 seconds to do a full revolution. But it is working. It is magnificent turbine. There's guys who've been up to the top of it, they say the view's spectacular.
And it's visible from every angle.
And from Amarillo, you can see it from the Washington overpass in Amarillo, if you're coming down Washington Street.
And Hereford Highway and every.
Hereford Highway, at the very bottom of it, you can see. But remember, it's a little bit south of the highway.
Do we have any contract to charge the carbon emission tax?
Well, that CO2 tax was my field. Remember, they said $5 per ton and $19 a ton were our estimates.
This country charge tax right now, or not a company?
There's no consideration for one right now. At the federal levels, they're considering it. The trouble is EPA has immediately pulled back on a lot of the different type of rulings that would allow that kind of a tax to be enacted. So the federal government right now is saying it's not really necessary. Everything's fine. Now remember, this is the government talking. The government that we've had for hundreds of years. We don't always trust them. No matter what country you're from, we don't trust the government. Always. But they try and do the best they can under the conditions they have. Right now they say it's not a problem. It could be someday. And we need to at least consider it. Carbon tax for a car would just drive up the fuel cost. Because that's the thing that's actually burned to make the carbon. Any other questions? Any other topics? Green pricing, like I say, you'll have those ones at the top will be available so you can see that green pricing is done lots of different ways. That it is working on the renewable energy field. That you got some sources of studies that have been done so you can see that it works individually, corporate-wise, statewide. Say it.
How many days of the year does one run? On average.
How many days a year do you breathe?
365.
Okay. No, graduate answer. All of them.
Oh.
Okay. Does breathing make you active or not?
Yes. Well, how many days do they like?
And that's the deal.
Produce energy.
98% of the time, which would be 350 days in a year, they're ready to run and active. Are they productive? No, only if the wind is just right. More than 7 miles an hour, less than 55. But if the wind is blowing in that window, then they're productive and active. We call it available when they're active, breathing. Okay? May not be working hard, maybe sleeping, whatever, but you're alive. But if you're really doing something, if you work, your school, you're doing some homework, whatever, now you're being productive. And that happens about, in Texas, 40% of the time. 38% is the average over every wind farm in the state. We've had as high as 50 up here in the Panhandle in Wildred. That means half the days of the year they were actually making stuff. Okay? So it's a wide range, and again, it comes down to how good your wind is, how good a tower you got, how good your maintenance is it ready to breathe? If it's breathing, is the wind strong enough? That kind of thing. Does that make sense? Like I said, I'm putting it in breathing terms. One more question, and we're done.
Same principles to offshore wind.
Not from you. Come on. Offshore wind?
Yeah, because it's a very big company from Denmark.
There is. And now I have to go to my deal. Find the one he specifically asked for, because that's what he's asking. There's big companies who are doing there. Renewable energy offshore. Ørsted. Do you know who Ørsted is? What he's famous for? None of you are physicists? Rats. The guy who discovered the connection between magnetism and electrical fields. That when a moving magnetic field works, electrons move. When electrons move, magnetic field gets created. He was the guy who figured that out. Ørsted's a company that's doing the majority of the installation offshore. And they did one of the first wind farms in Gulf of Mexico getting restarted. This one for the Atlantic coast, which was off of Rhode Island. These are pictures from Ørsted. Okay? So I've specifically done that one for you. But the biggest energy renewable company in all of Europe is also working here in America. That's what that also means. They see a market for it. The big growth is going to be, where's my big one? California. That's the one here. Ignore the bad, nobody likes bad. Okay. But California's got a lot of coastline and need for energy. So they're going to look at that. That answer it? Any other questions? You don't have time? We're done. Thank you very much.
One more time, Ken, thanks so much for your time. We would love to have you back in future.
If you got new questions, I'll come back
Thank
in.
you, sir. Okay, we are done.